Yeah, I'm absolutely here. Yeah, we're going to be announcing
Good.
any second now the Comedy Women in Print Prize for 2021.
Yeah, which is very, very exciting. And so let's speak to the founder of that award first of all. Helen Lederer joins us. Hey, Helen, thanks for your video earlier, which was amazing.
Hello, this is so nice. And Phil, I do love a nice announcement, and I love the way you said comedy in women, which sounded nice. But it's that kind of polite way where you go, I'm just correcting you, but I'm trying to be charming.
Did I really say that a minute ago? Did I just say that?
You said comedy in women, but
the comedy
it's on
in women
prize, is it not? It's good. The comedy within. Women.
Yeah, wow, that's very kind of you. I can't believe I said that. I mean, that would be difficult to judge, wouldn't it?
Indeed. And also, talking of the word judge, making your job even easier, Phil, is that in our little group today on your wonderful programme with the two of you, we also have a real judge, because I am a coward. I don't judge. But we have Kathy Rensenbrick, who is a real judge.
And a real author and a real everything. Hi, Kathy.
She's real.
Hi there. You're all being very nice.
She's real. And can I just say something about the brilliance of the judges for the Comedy Women in Print? Is that occasionally I have been a judge, and then you go to an event, and then you have to walk around the people, and then you sort of have to hide at the back, because it's just, being somebody who's a writer, actress myself, rejection is normal for me. But it is awful. It is so painful when one doesn't make it. Have either of you been rejected, possibly?
Oh,
Natalie
countless
and
times.
Phil?
Countless times.
So
what about you, Natalie?
It's hard.
Yeah, of course.
It's hard. Well, rejection is like when you're not on the list. It's like when my headmistress said, all those girls have passed, and then your name hasn't been read out. So this is painful but glorious, because we're celebrating comedy in women. Literature. It's fantastic, exciting moment. Yeah.
All right, so Natalie Jameson, you've got the shortlist there. Let's do the published shortlist first. There's also an unpublished to give new writers a chance of a prize as well. So we'll come to that in a second. Let's do the published list first, Natalie.
Yeah, and this is the one that, as Helen was saying, this is judged by Kathy Rensenbrink, along with Joanne Harris, Maureen Lipman, Steph McGovern, Susan Wakoma and Nina Stibbe, who won last year for her brilliant novel Reasons to be Cheerful. So here it is then, the 2021 shortlist for the Comedy Women in Print Prize. For the published comic novel, you have Ghosts by Dolly Alderton, Destination Wedding by Diksha Basu, The Best Things by Mel Gedroyd, Domestic Bliss and Other Disasters by Jane Irons, Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Sutanto, and the sixth book on this list is Murder by Milk Bottle by Lynn Truss.
So congratulations to all of them for making the shortlist. And Kathy, let me ask you, as one of the judges, how tricky it was.
You know, as you read and judge, there's always a couple that you think, oh, definitely, and then it's sort of a bit like, oh, well, maybe that and maybe that. But it was very amicable, I must say. It was Joanne Harris is our chair, and she was very sort of rod of iron, but in a friendly way, which I think, you know, you want to, when you are judging things, you want the chair to have a bit of authority about.
Oh,
you don't want somebody sort of flopping around. So she
didn't flop at all. You're absolutely right. Well said, Kathy. And also she did that clever sort of maths thing, because as we all know, and I'd love to know what you both think, is that with comedy, you know, one person's joke is another person's groan, mostly. Well, certainly in sort of stand-up comedy, it's so individual, and this is, you know, a broad sweep, but people get very passionate, don't they? Oh, quite rightly. And it is very, very difficult to get a consensus, but you did get a consensus. But you do need a leader sort of going, you know, a number cruncher sometimes with the overlaps. And do you
and I think it's worth saying as well, just on the list and on this prize in general, Helen, as well. So Comedy Women in Print, these are books that are funny. They are laugh out loud funny. I haven't read everyone on the shortlist yet, but I intend to. But the whole idea is that these are books that have a lot of depth to them too. And it's that mix of drama that then elevates the comedy in some of the different moments. And there's some very darkly funny points to these books too. And Kathy, was that something that you really relished reading?
Yes, I mean, I feel that comedy and tragedy are always quite closely spliced in my mind, and I mean, and actually, I think with really sad things as well. Sometimes, I don't laugh because I'm having a good time. I laugh because it's what I need to do to get me through the horror of what's happening. So I'm quite into sort of black comedy and gallows humor. So, but of course, I mean, there's a really wide range, and there's a wide range on our list. It's not every book is not every book necessarily has a dark side, but some of them do, and I think part of the fun of looking at the list, but what we were mainly focused on was, and I think that's a good responsibility as a judge, is that we wanted to have a list of books that we thought would be really enjoyable for people to read. So that was the first thing that they are
exactly funny. That you would actually recommend, and what I mean, Comedy Women in Print is there to shine a light on witty content, and you do, and that none of them are like each other, but that's how it should be. If you had it all sort of replicating in one genre, then we wouldn't be doing our job. We've got to kind of be as broad as we can. But it's the kind of book where you just want to give it to someone and go, oh God, you must read that. You know, that moment when you just want to give someone a book. And I mean, all of them have their sort of post-it notes, but alas, we're not on for 4 hours, are we, on your programme? Otherwise I'd be reading bits out. But it is that thing where everyone said, they actually laughed. And that the joy of reading something and then finding yourself laughing is it's just connecting to this world that we need to be connected to. So it's incredibly valuable to have a list where you go, yeah, maybe not all of them will be equally laugh out loud, but there will be a relevance, hopefully.
Yeah. And also, Helen, I mean, I used to cover Edinburgh Festival for a different network, and there constantly seemed to be the debate at Edinburgh about why there weren't enough women doing stand-up, and are women as funny as men, and all those old tropes. And I feel that this award, even though you're only in your third year, actually I feel like it dispels a lot of that, because it's actually saying to people, like, there are 6 books here and I have not read any of them. So straight away you're offering me 6 books now that I think, and I'm reading the shortlist now and some of the blurb with them. There's at least 3 here that I know I'm going to love. I just know from the blurb. Dial A for Aunties, for example, a highly original madcap murder rom-com already snapped up by Netflix, introducing a matriarchal family of Chinese-Indonesian wedding planners based in California. I'm in. Do you know what I mean? Just off that, I'm in. And I think that's a great thing. That's what your award's doing, is it's showcasing work that we may not otherwise discover.
Absolutely, and getting, as we said, a broadness, wouldn't you say, Kathy? I mean, they are all different, and in the judges, some people are going to sort of lean more to one than other, but everybody was happy with this result. I mean, I wish we could have more on, but if it's a shortlist, by definition, you've got to go for the 6, haven't you? But you will find. I mean, just I don't want to single. I'm just saying, because on my list I've got Dolly Alderton's here. It's just when Kathy was saying it's dark. I mean, just reading out these tragic messages that she's sending to this bloke that actually you want to scream, he is not interested. But, it just unfolds so deliciously. And it's just a joy. Darkness is a joy. Other people's unhappiness gives me a lot of fun.
But I think your prize actually does a lot more than that as well, Helen, because I think what it does is it reframes the conversation about female authors within some circles. So, for example, I'm going to bring up that age-old trope of chick lit, which some people hate, some people don't mind that phrase. But, if we look at this list, and if you look at something like a book that we talk about a lot, Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club, which you could say it's a funny book, but it's also, it's a murder mystery and it's a cozy crime and it's all of those things. But nobody would ever put Richard Osman's book in chick lit. But it could be. There's no reason why it couldn't. And I quite like that you're reframing that conversation and just giving a bit more ownership to women for what we want to write and what we want to read and have it respected.
Oh, that's so nice. Kathy, wouldn't you agree that is just because why using the word wit more this year is to just keep that broad sort of witty integrity sort of accessible. Yes, there's farce in some of them, but I think wit is a very empowering word. And without sounding sort of, I'm doing trope. All of us must say trope. Kathy, you haven't said trope yet. The 3 of us have. But what we want to do is actually just give a reliable canvas that has always been there. It's always been there. In the 60s, there were witty women novelists. They just didn't get taken out to lunch as much and promoted, and that's nobody's fault. That's just how it was. So this is the time, isn't it, Cathy Renson-Brink, who's written more books than I have? Would you like to say?
I think she's just waiting for you to stop before she comes in.
I know, I feel. Thanks for enabling. I love you. Yeah, I do talk a lot.
Yes,
Go on,
which is very good.
She's gone. Cathy, are you there?
Yes.
Well, say something if you wouldn't mind.
Which is a good thing. I completely agree. Women are a good thing. I also completely agree. Richard Osman is a good thing. I also completely agree. So I think I'm in accord with everything that everyone is saying.
Richard can come to our award ceremony. Are you talking about the unpublished now?
Hang on, Helen. Let me just ask Cathy a question, if I may. I just want to ask Cathy a question before we move on to the unpublished, because I think it's an important question. Natalie and I do a books podcast together called Bestsellers, and one of the things that we often remark on is just the shortage of funny books. We don't seem to be offered a lot of books that you would classify as having humour in them. Do you agree with that, first of all, Cathy, or do you think we're just not looking hard enough?
No, I do agree, but I think it's because writing funny books is really hard. I think humour is really difficult in books. It's difficult to do it as well as doing everything else, I think, that you have to do in a satisfying novel or memoir. So, and I mean, I've always had just huge respect for comic novels, but often they're not, I think a great novel, for example, is Bridget Jones's Diary. But, there's no shortage of people that just like slagging that off because they think that because it's about, women and dating stories and that because it's funny, it's also somehow not literature. So there's that sort of whole baggage to everything. But no, I think really good comic writing is really difficult. Obviously, Nina Stibbe was a judge this year, and she won the prize last year. And I think she's a comic genius. I mean, she's also my dear friend. I'm not just like touting one of my friends. We do go swimming, yes, and she makes me laugh a lot in real life.
Is it true that you go swimming every time you both bring a book out? Because that just struck me as like highly weird, although nice.
It's sort of true. We've done it twice because I've had two books out, and the next book that comes out from both of us is on the 6th of January. So we're discussing whether or not we think we can do it on a cold day.
So they're friends.
But before she was my friend, I was just struck. She's a really innately natural comic writer. But when you look at someone like her or Sue Townsend, you realise how rare it is. Really, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's a joy,
and that's why it's
when
so valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a joy when we want that. We want to be reading a book and we want to be connected with the author, and we want it to not be try hard, and we want not to be let down that it goes, it's too obvious or all these things. So to even get sort of 80% hit is worth it.
And is that just coincidence that Nina won last year and she's a judge this year, or is that
no,
is it a prize?
It's on purpose, Phil. If you'd won, you'd be a judge, even.
Right.
Yes. No, because it's that thing. What's that phrase? Passing it on forwards or some phrase? It's
paying
like,
it forward.
That one. Thank you. I mean, and again, with when we get on to the unpublished, the winner of last year's unpublished, Faye Brown, was a judge this year. It's like just, obviously, when we get £5 million per month to sustain this prize, until we do that, the support from the good quality women we have is everything. So there's a bit of payback and a bit of pay forward, if you see what I mean.
So let's get on to the unpublished shortlist now then. Let's give that some airtime as well, which Natalie's got for us. And we should say that the prize here for the unpublished is £5,000 advance from Harper Fiction and a publishing contract from Harper Fiction, so that gets published. And then there's some good runners-up prizes here. So one runners-up prize goes on the MA course in creative writing at the University of Hertfordshire. Another gets an MA in comedy writing at Falmouth University, which is the first of its kind in the country. So the great runners-up prizes there. So go through the shortlist in unpublished writers, Natalie.
Yeah, and again, like this is going to be difficult, I know, because these aren't books that people are likely to have read because they are unpublished. But hopefully that's going to change as soon as we do this shortlist for the Comedy Women in Print Prize, Unpublished 2021, which is The Lady Detective by Hannah Dolby. I'll give you a line from each. So this says, when Victorian spinster Violet Hamilton changes her mind about hiring seedy seaside detective Frank Knight to investigate her mother's disappearance, she finds he's impossible to stop. Then there's Fools Rush In by Jo Lyons. After her father announces he's getting remarried, Connie ends up in Benidorm trying to bond with a stepsister to be hell-bent on making sure the two of them don't get along. The Purgatory Poisoning by Rebecca Rogers. Dave wakes in purgatory and learns he's been killed by one of his so-called friends. He is sent back to Earth to solve his own murder, aided by a rogue angel. And there are 3 more on the list. You've got The NCT Murders by Catherine Sumner Ailes. Alice joined NCT to make some new friends, but when their class ends in murder, they all come under suspicion. Labour Law by Claire Ward Smith. I know that one's great, right? Helen Bailey's ruthless employers use her maternity leave to ruin her legal career, but she refuses to go down without a fight. And finally, on the unpublished shortlist is The Death and Life of Agnes Grace by Emma Williams. Agnes and grandson Tom are on a voyage of self-discovery to recapture her youth and corrupt his before time runs out for both of them.
Now, how do we can we, the members of the public, can we, Helen, get to read some excerpts of the unpublished? How do we get to sample?
Oh, that's quite interesting. Well, because this is the 3rd year, so you can read the published novel of the year 1 and the about to be published, the existing published of Faye Bram already. So I suppose the USP of this is that HarperCollins actually does truthfully publish the book. So you get to, I haven't answered your question. If you actually go on Comedy Women in Print, we'll do some sexy, edgy extracts, because we've got manuscripts, great big fat manuscripts. We could just probably photograph them, put them on just for you, Phil. But they are funny. The point is they're funny, but the joy of the people who judge these, Gloria Hunniford, Tanya Moore, comedian Sarah Shaffi, like a complete range of amazing people, is you had to see the potential of it. So that was kind of exciting in a different way. But you kind of know, once you've got a comedy construct, you also know if the narrative's going to kind of land. I'm sounding like a teacher. I'm so not. I've only written 1 comedy novel, but I'm told it was funny. Do you want to know why? Can I just do that?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not?
No, because the whole thing about the Comedy Women in Print, because there is one comedy literary prize called the PG Woodhouse Prize, and that's not just for women. So Nina and I were both nominated. So to get a nomination when you have never been nominated for anything except a position badge age 10 changed my life. So it's good to be on a list, isn't it? It's good to be on a list. So these people are on a list.
Kathy, I've got to ask you one more from me. I think Natalie's got one more as well, then we're going to have to move on. But just tell me this, how difficult is it going to be in the category that you're judging, which is the published category, to decide on a winner, to kind of come to a consensus?
Yeah, well, it is always difficult, but I think that that when you agree to judge something, that's what you sort of front up for, really. So I don't think you can shirk your responsibility. And whenever I judge anything, I always have the readers in mind, that I'm actually thinking about people that are really going to enjoy reading it and to try to do the best job really for them. So and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I enjoyed the first round of judging. The other thing I really like about judging, and this is a bit of a nerdy reader's point, is I like reading books again. I like rereading, and I like the way that you have a different relationship with the book depending on, so if I read a book just for pleasure, that's one thing. If I read it to review, that's a different thing. If I read it because I'm interviewing the author, that's another thing. I'm then more on the author's side. And then when you're judging as well, I read it in a slightly different way. And then, of course, you read them first, and then for the shortlist, you read them again. And some books get better and some books don't get better. And that often becomes really relevant. Like you see, the books that tend to win out are the ones that sort of have more riches to discover on a second read. So I'm looking forward to finding that out. I do love judging things. It's a really interesting and stimulating activity, and of course involves other people, because writing's a bit lonely. So I like being liberated from, the terror of my own blank page.
You're also brainy.
Talk about books with other women.
It was actually quite, it was a privilege, because I know I appear to talk a lot. I don't. I promise not to speak in them. But it was amazing seeing how these very sort of clever women interacted, and their findings, which were different, but the enthusiasm, that's what it is. It's the enthusiasm for this content that makes it worthwhile. People are genuinely enthused by books on this list, and indeed the long list. Yeah.
Well, look, thank you both very much for joining us on Times Radio and for allowing us to break that shortlist here on this programme. The winners will be decided on Monday, November the 8th at a sparkly ceremony at the Groucho Club. So we look forward to hearing the winners on Monday evening once they're announced on Monday the 8th of November. And if you want further details, you'll be able to find those at the Comedy Women in Print website. And they've got a really good Twitter account that's been very lively as well today. And that's where we'll direct you to for more information on these brilliant shortlists. Thank you very much, Kathy, and thank you very much, Helen.
Thank you, both of you, so much. We'll see you at the awards. We'll give you some free books.
Thank you.